Hi friends, it's Tara, and in today's video, we are going to use pattern papers that you already have in your stash to create a really fun mini mixed media art journal layout. All right, so I am participating in hashtag Beartober, which is a spin on Inktober, which is basically just a challenge to create every single day in October. I think it's supposed to be around drawing, but I'm doing whatever the heck I want. And I created this little mini art journal for this purpose. So I used my Happy Planner hole punch here, and I just put some washi tape on there to make sure that all my pages hole punched in the exact same spot. And I grabbed some of these really fun little discs off of Amazon. I'll link them below for you guys. And I just created my own art journal, you guys. This is super low key. I used this mixed media paper. I cut it down to 4x4. And I'm just using the little prompt that I get every single day to create something. And I've never done an art journal, so this is my first attempt at an art journal. So it's been really fun and no pressure, which has been really nice. It's really helping me get my crafty mojo back. So the one we're going to do today, y'all, the theme is bugs. So I was not feeling overly inspired by the theme of bugs, but I think this turned out really super cute. So I grabbed my multimedia mat. I grabbed some makeup sponges because I'm all about the cheap supplies, you guys. I'm also all about things I can throw away when I'm done using them, and makeup sponges are perfect for that. I got these at the Dollar Tree, and it's a whole pack. You get like 100 of them. I mean, it's pretty awesome. And then when I'm done using it, I just throw it away. So I also have some tissue paper from Tim Holtz, and there just happens to be these big, giant, disgusting butterflies on this tissue paper. And I say disgusting because I'm really afraid of things that flutter. You guys, like moths are one of my biggest phobias. Like, seriously, I hate them. I hate them so much. My multimedia mat has not been used in a hot minute. You guys, it's seriously probably been like, it's at least been a year since I busted it out. So I was honestly surprised I got it to liquefy at all. This is not usually what multimedia mat looks like. It's usually like a really nice glue consistency. Mine is just nasty, so don't judge multimedia mat based on my experience here. But the good news is I still got it to work. So I just smeared it all over my page. And now I'm putting this really terrifying moth right on top of the page. So the theme is bugs for this prompt. So I wanted to make sure you could see the moth in the background. I'm going to end up pushing this background like further into the background by the end. Like, it's not going to be the focal point by any means, but it just kind of adds that little layer of meaning to the page that there's bugs piled on top of bugs on top of bugs. So yeah, I'm afraid of moths. Is anybody with me? Things that flutter are the worst. Like, I can't control the, like, it's the chaos of it, you guys. It's the fluttery chaos. Like, bees and flies that like buzz are okay. Like, I don't love any kind of bug, but the fluttery ones and moths are the absolute worst because they'll just like bounce off your face forever. It's awful. It's like you can't escape it. I have a horror story from this one summer where these huge moths showed up in my hometown, and they were so bad. They were massive. And I was like parked at a stoplight, and there was one bouncing off the window in my car, and I was just like crying because I seriously thought it was going to try to bust in the window and like eat my face. So anyway, I'm getting distracted because the moth is bringing back horrifying memories. But I guess that's what October's all about, right? It's all the spookiness. So anyway, I have some gesso here. It's white, and I'm using it to push this background a little bit further into the background. So I'm using another makeup brush, and I just put some gesso on top, and then I'm going to dry it with my heat gun. This multimedia paper that I'm using, you guys, is not super heavy weight. So it is, it's pretty wet here. I'm having to definitely like dry it all in between, and the page is pretty floppy, but it works out totally fine by the end. I actually did another layer of the gesso after this because I wanted that pushed even further back in, so you can totally just layer that gesso up until you're happy with how bright your background is coming through there. And then I'm going to do some distress inking on top of this bad boy also. So lots of different kind of layers going into this, which I think is one of the things about like multimedia and art journaling and stuff, is just adding those layers and layers and layers. So you can see when I put another layer on top of the dry gesso, it kind of makes it even more like shadowy and blurry and pushes it into the background so that it's not quite so prominent. So it's not going to detract from what I put on top. So this is a pretty simple page that I'm doing, you guys. And it's like, once you kind of see how it all comes together, like I said, it's really simple. This is a really good kind of way to get into the mixed media game because it can get really complicated and intimidating. I love watching Vicky Papanow do her mixed media stuff. So she's totally my inspiration. But one of the things I picked up on is to start with not a blank background, right? So that's part of why I like the tissue paper on the background, because it makes your background no longer just like that solid white, which can sometimes be intimidating, right? If you don't have a real solid plan for what you want to do. So adding that little bit of design to the background is really a helpful way to get started. So now that I've got the couple layers of gesso on there, I'm like watching myself put this away. Sometimes when I edit my videos, you guys, I try really hard to trim out the parts that like are not necessary. Like you probably don't need to watch me wipe this mat down like 18 times, but apparently I felt that it was really important. I will say while I'm doing this though, that my craft mat on a clipboard is one of my absolute favorite tools in the craft room. So you should totally put a craft mat on a clipboard if you haven't done that already. So I am taking this paper pad that I've had in my stash for Lord knows how long. It's just there. It's a Halloween themed paper pad. It's super adorable. And I'm just looking through it for some inspiration. Like I knew I wanted to do bugs. I was wondering, I knew there were some like spider pads in here or papers. I honestly didn't have a plan. Not going to lie to you guys. Like this is how I do stuff. I was like, I'm going to use the weird creepy moth tissue paper and then this paper pad. That was literally the extent of my plan. So I landed on this particular paper, which is actually really pretty. I will say that I understand that butterflies are pretty, you guys. I just don't want them near me. I can look at them though. They are pretty. I just don't want them on me. So I'm going to use that pattern paper. And then I happen to have this little book of just quotes. This is a Tim Holtz book and there's a whole bunch of different quotes. So I found one that I thought went with the theme of butterflies. And I'm just going to use one of those quote stickers. I originally was looking to use one of the little like quotes in the paper pad because, you know, they come with some of those little pages that have like quotes and stuff on them and little sentiments. But I ended up using the one from the Tim Holtz book. But you could totally do this like all out of a paper pad also. So I basically just turned into a crazy person and I spent like an hour fussy cutting a gajillion of these little butterflies out of this piece of paper. So a fun way to approach your paper pads, you guys, is like obviously the papers are super cute, but if there's little patterns in the papers, then you can use those and basically make little die cuts for yourself to use in your layouts, your cards, whatever it is that you're making. It's just kind of another way to look at your pattern papers. I don't know why I keep saying that kind of funny with the pattern papers. I think I'm a little nasally. I've had some allergies going on this week, so I think that's why pattern papers keeps coming out like that. Anywho, I am using all of these little tiny butterflies. I did not cut out the whole piece of paper, you guys. I did about half. And I totally guesstimated how many I would need. I mean, keep in mind, my little art journal page is only 4 inches by 4 inches. So it is not huge. So I went through and I fussy cut out all these little tiny butterflies. And now I'm going to grab my distress ink. I'm going to use some black soot and I'm going to put it on the back of all these butterflies. This step you could probably skip. I did it because you'll see later that I create a little bit of dimension with the butterflies. And so I just didn't want, if you saw up underneath their wings, that I just didn't want it to be stark white because that wouldn't really go with the rest of the layout. This didn't take too long. My fingers were disgusting by the end of this. If you do something like this, you definitely want to make sure that you clean your hands because I got super black inky and then I started touching stuff and everything turned black inky. And I was like, should probably wash my hands. It's one thing about distress ink and like mixed media and art journals, and it gets messy, y'all. So now I'm going to create the background on my page. So I am using distress inks. I'm starting with Rusty Hinge, And I am just going to start in the middle. I wanted like an orangish color to kind of go with those monarch butterflies. And then I'm using Vintage Photo here. I don't think I liked this one. Let me see. Is this the one I didn't like? Yeah, this one was too similar to the Rusty Hinge. And they all kind of looked a little different than I anticipated because on top of that slick gesso, like white surface, everything was sliding around a lot. And I was not getting like the rich color that I wanted. So layering, you guys. I mean, I just like blended and blended and blended and blended and blended. And I just kept like, you'll see in a minute, I'm going to bust out my heat tool. I'm going to dry the layers. I'm going to come in. I'm going to add more. I'm going to dry it. I'm going to put more on top. I'm going to put darker on the outside. So I ended up having to go like full dark. This is a darker brown. I want to say walnut stain. I couldn't read the little tiny lid there. You guys tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this one's walnut stain. And then I'm going to get the black soot out because I was like, I just can't get the level of color I'm looking for here. Because I really wanted like a dark, I don't know, I didn't want it to be dark, but I definitely wanted kind of Halloween-y vibes a little bit, even though nothing about it besides the creepy moth is really Halloween. It's fall, the prompts are fall. I wanted rich, deep fall colors in like the oranges and the browns. I didn't get it quite what I was envisioning with the rich, deep color, but I did get to where I liked it. So I was able to get that like kind of orange pop in the middle with that Rusty Hinge, and then deepen up the outsides with the black soot. That it never really got very dark, just because of that gesso underneath. So just a little pro tip, if you want it to be darker, the gesso step might not be something that you could use, or you could use a different blending medium, because if I had been using some paints on top or something like that, it definitely would have reacted differently than the distress inks. Careful with your fingers when you're blending with distress inks. You definitely want to use like a piece of paper or a paper towel to hold your paper as you blend around, because you will definitely get fingerprints in everything. I learned that the hard way also. These are things I know, but I just apparently have forgotten. So you know how it goes. Now I'm busting back out my Happy Planner hole punch because I put that tissue paper right over the holes on this page, and so I just repunched it. It's part of why I'm leaving those little washi tape pieces on my hole punch, because until I'm done with this little book, I've already had to repunch several different pages because of things I'm layering on there. So just a little tip for you to make sure that the holes are all in the same place. Adding more to make the outside dark. This is another Vicky trick, is to have the dark outside and then it kind of pulls focus into the middle. Gives a little bit of a frame to your page. So that's definitely something that I like to do, whether it's just with ink or with other stamps, or, you know, all kinds of stuff comes up when you're doing mixed media. I'm really liking this art journal thing. And when I originally started, I thought that I would keep them all pretty similar, like theme-wise, like as far as how I put the pages together, but honestly, they're just all going all over the place, which I'm loving. So this is a little bit of gouache. This is bronze metallic gouache, and it's gorgeous, you guys. It's this really pretty autumn metallic. It's so good. I love it, love it, love it. Put a little bit on my mat, spritzed it with some water. My hair is getting all up in here because, you know, my hair wants to hang out on camera too. And I'm just going to take a paintbrush and I'm going to do some splatters, and I'm going to put splatters all over my background. And then I randomly decided that I wanted some splatters on my butterflies also. So I'm going to flip all those bad boys back over so that I can see the front. I love that this pattern paper had them in a few different sizes and then these few different colors. Like, it's pretty perfect for what I'm doing here. Made my job easy, that's for sure. So I'm just putting some of these bronze splatters both on the page and on the little butterflies for that cohesive look. Super fun to do. Easy to just pick up random stuff in your craft room. You can do this with any kind of paint. You can do it with any kind of ink. Splatters are always a quick, easy way to add some interest to a background. Like, I dig me some splatters, you guys. I'm going to hit those with my heat tool because Impatience is my middle name, and I don't ever want to wait for anything to dry. Tell me I'm not the only one, you guys. Do you guys all heat tool stuff? Look at that amazing shimmer you get with those splatters, you guys. So, so good. So now I'm just going to clean up my area just a little bit because, knowing me, I will totally booger it up and put everything right in the middle of the splatters. And now I'm going to add my sentiment. So I had already picked out what sentiment I was going to use earlier. I'm just going to peel up that strip, and I am actually going to cut it into 3 pieces to fit on my page better. In hindsight, I probably should have put a little bit of liquid adhesive on the back of these. I did get it to stick eventually, but I did have to go back later and add a little bit of liquid adhesive because the edges of a couple of these stickers were peeling up. I mean, it's on a whole bunch of layers. Like, it makes sense. They are stickers, but there's just so much slick stuff that I put it down onto that it just makes sense that it would need a little bit extra. So now these little butterflies, I am curling them around my paintbrush so their little wings kind of poke up, and then I'm just putting glue right on the little bodies, and then I'm gluing the little bodies to the page. So this is what I was talking about when I said I had a little bit of dimension on this page, is that I want the butterflies to kind of look like their wings are flapping. So it is in an art journal book. I'm trying not to squish the pages too flat because I have several pages that have dimension on them. Eventually, all their little wings are probably going to be flat, but I could poke them back up if I wanted to. You can't really see the black background or the black on the back, but I just wanted to make sure that it was there just in case. So I am just going to do this exact same thing with every single butterfly, you guys. I have zero plan. My whole plan is I want it to look random. I just want these butterflies all over this page, like all over this page. And I ended up using every single butterfly, and I was pretty proud of myself because I feel like I cut like just the right amount of butterflies. And I didn't even plan it. Like, yeah, it just worked out. It was meant to be. So I like some white accents on my art journal pages. This is another Vicky trick, and I am using a white gel pen just to go ahead and add a little border to those sentiment strips. And then I'm going to put a little bit of white on each one of the butterflies' little bodies here. Just a quick little white line just to tie that white into the whole page and kind of add a little bit more of a pop to the page. I think it looks really cute. I love how that creepy moth in the background is barely there, but if you know it's there and you look for it, you can see him, right? You can see him, yeah. Are you guys seeing on my watch that I have my Hocus Pocus sign that I made in my last video as the picture for my Apple Watch? I'm a dork. Okay, so the last step on this is that I'm going to use that bronze gouache that's still on my craft mat, and I'm just going to put a little bit of a distress line all around the outside of this page. And that's going to do it for this page, you guys. And that's just going to tie it all in, add a little extra sparkle. This was super fun to make. If you need a little bit of crafty inspiration, you should totally join us at #BearTober on Instagram. So much good stuff going on. There's a different little fall themed prompt every single day. And it just really kind of gets your creative juices flowing in a way that maybe you wouldn't have thought of before. Like, I definitely wouldn't have done a bug themed journal page without the help of Beartober. Right? So thank you guys so much for joining me. I am loving this art journal. I'm excited to share more of it with you guys as I move through the month. All of them are being posted over at my Instagram at Tara Leray. I'm not able to make a video on every single one, but if you want to follow my Beartober this month, you should follow me over on Instagram. Here's a couple more videos if you enjoyed this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time. Bye!